Silence.
All right.
Sorry, that was so fun to say that. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to bring the meeting to order. July 13th Budget Committee meeting. First thing on the agenda is roll call. Erica?
Alzing.
Here.
Forrest Ransdell.
Present.
Leo Fillion.
Leo, you here?
Roll call. Roll call.
Say here. No. Here.
Larry Pickering.
Here.
Brian Hacker.
Here.
Lorraine Pepperell.
Here. Dan Dickens is not here at the moment. Okay. Approval of minutes from the organizational meeting. I just handed that out to everybody.
Make a motion to accept the May 21st, 2009 minutes.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any corrections? Should be fairly. Seeing none, all those in favor for accepting the minutes as written of May 21st, 2009, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, is anyone abstaining? Dana?
I am, however, it says absent. I believe I did notify you, so is that excused or just not show absent?
You were absent, and I don't recall getting notified until after.
No, it was prior.
Okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
it was
I
prior.
didn't get it till after. All right, so, and did you,
I abstain.
and Forrest abstained, so Dana and Forrest abstained. Okay, next item on the agenda is discussion regarding general philosophy of annual impact on tax rate with two different voting rates. And I believe last year we had a discussion about this with school and town and how the budget committee felt it was difficult to get a sense of the feel for the total impact of salaries and benefits with two different voting dates. So we'd asked that, I think that we tried to work together this year, Ed and Mark, for trying to find a way that we may know what the impact is. And some of the things that have come up is, do we have to vote two different dates for the budgets? And I'm just going to turn over to you guys, because I know there's some legal ramifications of changing dates or not changing dates, or I'll just let you guys speak to that
Well,
question.
Sue's place to call, and Sue, have you heard anything from?
Well, the way you're set up now, you have to vote those 2 days based on the warrant that was passed for those 2 days. But you can change that, and that would require a warrant to make them both May, make them both March. You can even do April. So that is an option, but it would take 2 years to do that. You could get it passed, have a public hearing, get it passed, then next year you could go to the 1 day vote.
Okay. And is there any reason why the town votes in May versus March? Because every other town around us votes in March.
The charter says that.
Is the town charter specific to that?
Yes.
Yes.
So the charter would have to be changed in order to go to March.
Correct, but the purpose of it was, if it goes to March and then the budget cycle still stays the same, that's not a problem.
Right. Okay.
But I think that the way that they did it was that the goal was to have it, be able to set the budget as close to the town meeting as possible, so you could have a better idea of what that budget is going to be going into the next year, so.
As I just learned from the school side, they're under contractual obligations with teachers that they have to have their contracts.
Yeah, I'll address that if you'd like. And just for example, if the school were to move to May, each year the district would have to pink slip RIF, reduction in force, every teacher on staff, because legally by state law, our contracts have to be issued by April 15th. So if we vote first Tuesday in May, well, that's 3 weeks after April 15th. So we would have to lay off every teacher every year, and then based on budget outcome, call them back. And in reality, when we vote in March, we build our budget and as approved by the budget committee, and then it is presented to the voters. We take whatever action that budget dictates by that April 15th deadline. So if we were to move to May to align with the town, we would end up undertaking a pretty large logistical hurdle, personnel-wise. Not to mention the impact on staff that has when, you know, all of a sudden someone feels like they're getting that pink slip, even though it may be a yearly formality, so to speak. All of a sudden you start, you know, potentially losing good staff because they don't want to go through that period of uncertainty every year.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. It would decimate the ranks. Anyone that's marketable would certainly start pursuing other opportunities. So it has the potential of really bringing about a decline in the stability and excellence we're trying to cultivate and maintain. And we know certainly there's many, many benefits to working here in Newmarket. But the fact is, you know, it's a competitive situation with salaries. We just lost a very able person, and it was a $17,000 increase for this person over an Oyster River. So it is very, very competitive.
Do you have a question? I thought you had your hand up.
Cal?
Excuse me.
I guess what I'd like from you folks is some suggestions to help us as the budget committee, and let me give you a couple of examples. When we met with the school committee last year, and we met with the school committee first and went through the budgets, the decision was, I don't know if it was a decision, Mark, or if it was a strong feeling that salary increases for non-union employees should be whatever they were. That we should continue with those.
That's correct.
So by the time we got to the town, at least I can speak for myself in saying, how can I say to one employee of the town that happens to work at the school that you are going to get an increase, but an employee that works for the town not for the school, you're not gonna. It just didn't seem to use the word fair. Let me give you another example. In the town, we curtailed all professional development out of state. There was no, is that right, Ed?
Correct.
And yet, the issue of professional development within the school committee, I don't remember what our decision was, or even if we discussed it. But and same thing with benefits, the same thing with travel, professional development, and there's a whole bunch of other issues that from my standpoint, being a budget committee member, I feel as though there ought to be some consistency and fairness, and I'll use those two words together, between town employees and school employees. And when the school goes in first, makes its decisions, then I feel somewhat obligated to say to the town, that's the direction we're going this year. And it just, 80% of our budget are these kinds of expenses, people expenses, and I just feel as a budget committee member, our hands are pretty well tied because of the lack of concurrence in terms of setting budget objectives.
Well, to a large degree, that is absolutely true. It is quite a dilemma. And there's no easy answer as to how we can untie that knot, especially with federal legislation and No Child Left Behind, setting up so many mandates that often involve interventions, training out of state, that I don't know how we're going to completely come to grips with that.
Yeah, I see that as the difference between the town and the school is a lot of the out-of-state travel that we may do is going to, municipal managers conference or the GFOA or planning conference, something like that. Whereas I think with the school, to say that you're going to eliminate that may limit the ability of the teachers to meet certain requirements they have on an ongoing basis. And I think that's something that needs to be looked at individually. I think as it relates to wages, that's something that, I'm not saying we follow the school follows us. I think it's up to the individual boards to set what they feel is going to be the wage. And I know that when I developed the budget for the town, I put in a 3% pay increase for all the non-union staff. And that was my approach to it. Although I know that you all were having a discussion as to how you're going to deal with that, wages or not, and things, so.
And with a collective bargaining agreement, and having to go on the referendum,
Yeah.
certainly there's a whole different set of rules we have to comply with as well.
I think the one thing that you have to remember, and, you know, going back to the time when both the town and the school were on a March town meeting, was, you know, you were dealing with the budget from September all the way up till February. And you were dealing with the town, and you're dealing with the school. And I remember it was almost nonstop. You know, you're doing it through Thanksgiving, you're doing it through Christmas and New Year's, and trying to fit in all those days and trying to keep the budget straight and things like that. It was just, I mean, it was really tiring after a while. You're just like, you know, I can't wait till the second Tuesday in March comes to get it over and done with. I see the process that we have here, although it might be a little bit more cumbersome for you guys to put your hands around it, is that you have that space. You can deal with the school budget. You can delve into it, and the same thing, once that's done, we then can delve into the town budget a little bit more than you probably, you know, could have done in the past, so. I mean, there's pluses and minuses to both ways of doing it, but I just think that, you know, I kind of like the way that it's done now. It gives a little bit more time to put stuff together, and, you know, we're dealing the town directly with you, and the school's dealing separately. You're not trying to juggle schedules that you might be meeting on Saturdays and in the middle of the week, which is what we found. And I know when Leo was on the budget committee during that period of time, and it just seemed like that was a lot of what we were doing. We'd meet one day during the week and on a Saturday and one day during the week, and it just felt like you never ended doing that. So.
And there's a lot of opportunity for collaboration, but you're making a good point. I think said in this, there are often times where you have that staggering of votes. It's there for a reason. And that citizens have an opportunity to say, and there isn't a clouding of the issue, you know, it's time that the town has this budget approved. And it may not be a situation where we're going to approve the school budget this time around, where if you have a common voting date, it tends to bleed into the other, and it causes confusion.
Do you have any follow-up?
Thanks.
Are you all set? Or do you have follow-up?
Yeah, just I understand, and I guess at the very least, what I would like to see, and maybe it's going on already, is a discussion between the town and the school about these big issues, in general philosophy about how we think we're going to do these things. I think that would, and it may be going on already, and it's as simple as things from fuel prices to not, you know, this is the general approach we're going to use. This is what we're thinking about when it comes to wage increases. This is what we're thinking about, and if those discussions are going on, great, and if they are going on, I guess that would, at least from my standpoint, resolve, or go a long way towards resolving the issue.
It's a good example that we're looking at present. We're discussing some significant energy-saving opportunities. We're looking at vendors such as Siemens, other vendors that potentially could save schools in Newmarket building in particular, possibly the elementary, thousands of dollars. Well, we've been talking, and we should be discussing that with the Energy Committee, and ultimately the Budget Committee and personnel within the town and the school departments to see how that can be expanded. So many of these initiatives in the past, we go it alone, and either we miss an opportunity or we're failing to see potential beyond a year because we have not had these discussions. So we talked about that in the meeting the other day. And ultimately having those discussions, at least on an information basis, with the Budget Committee or representatives from the Budget Committee.
You're welcome. Brian, you.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, short of changing the charter, the only thing I think the budget committee could discuss is whether we wanted to provide guidance to the school board and the town council before they start setting their budget, which I think has only happened once in the 7 or 8 years that I've been involved, where the budget committee said, don't propose a budget more than X% higher than last year. And
I think that was 2 years ago, I
Yeah.
believe, 2 seasons ago.
How many years ago?
2 or 3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And I think it was, I'm not sure if the school got that message or if it was the council.
yeah, we did.
So, or, we don't want to, all employees, whether they're salaried or union or non-union or staff, should have equivalent pay raise opportunities. So the budget committee's expectations are known before you do all the work. That's a different role for the budget committee, but it's within our ability to have such an engaged role. But in the past, we haven't done that. And the reason I say it's within the role is because if the school board or the council does something, we can always change it because it's the budget that the budget committee adopts. So it's better for us to be up front than to be a surprise at the end for everybody. And I think that happened a little bit last year with some expectations that were set.
I mean, I know that in the budget that we just put together, we didn't have, myself with the council didn't have any discussion, but I thought we ended up with a budget that was in keeping with the way that the economy was heading, which was down. And we tried our hardest to make changes and stuff between the budget committee, between the administration and the budget committee, or the council, I should say, before it got to you guys. And you guys made additional cuts, which was realistic. I think that's what we have to be in tune with. You can say, and I would hope that if you're going to set a level, that you have some discussion with the assessor. That's what I did, is I went to Andy Blaze and said, what do you anticipate is going to be the assessed value increase in the town? And he looked at me and said, about $2.5 million. The year before he said it was $5 million, and it came in higher than that because there were a lot of pickups and things that they were able to get and acquire. So, those are the things that we have to look at. And also, we're looking at revenues. And the state has just sort of slapped us upside the head of late with the budget that they just passed, which is, it really starts to hurt us right off the bat. So, there's things beyond our control that we can try to do, but, along comes the state and they do stuff to us, or even the federal government, so.
Didn't we have a discussion about that during the budgeting process, and we thought we were gonna get a gain?
Yep.
And we got a loss?
No, that was the school side.
It was on the school side.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, you're right.
Well, and it's just like little things that we,
Right.
the state retirement for, the state is not going to fully fund their portion of it, and anytime we do special details now, we have to pick up 100% of the state's portion of the retirement and send it to them. Now, granted, we're going to charge it to the vendor who is using the PD guys, but,
But more often than not, it's our project.
what's that?
More often than not, it's our own project, like the
And
downtown.
and some of that we've said, well, okay, we'll pay that, so we're gonna have to eat those costs, so. But still, it would be better if they said it's gonna take place in the second half of the biennium, so we can adequately plan for it, as opposed to right off the bat when we got our budget in place.
Dana?
I want to kind of follow up on Al Zink's comment regarding consolidation of energy and things like that. Another area, I think, at least while I was on the council, I was very concerned about was the escalating cost of the health care and the insurance. I've always thought, and maybe somebody can explain to me if it can't be done, is if we have a larger pool of people, the lower the cost is going to be. Having spent years with Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Oxford Health Plans, the larger that pool is, again, the cost comes down. Is there any thought of the town side and the school side coming together to form that larger insurance pool to help defer some of that cost?
Well, it certainly makes a whole lot of sense. And we should be exploring it, Sue.
We've tried that before in the past, and I don't know if that was with you, Ed, years ago, or it was with another.
No, I think it was with Melody, and I believe Brian, we were on the council, perhaps Laurie Ann too.
But even before that, I know
Oh,
that
was it?
we sat down with one of the representatives from, actually at the time, we had Anthony Blue Cross, the school did. And our plans were so different that each of us would have had to revise our plans and make them the same. And our experience was so different. So one of us would have been paying a lower cost at one time, would have had to pick up the cost for the other, because you're right on your experience.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, is because there were different plans. Can we consolidate somehow so the plans are uniform across the board? So we have that continuity in the type of plans that we have, rather than having one out here and one out there.
One thing you have to take into consideration is you have unions that are involved
Absolutely.
and different requirements. You have to bring them all in sync.
Right, that is
That doesn't
absolutely
happen
correct.
overnight.
However, we're seeing the unions out there now with GM and the automotive, they're coming in line. They're also looking at the cost, the bottom line, and there's some concessions being made there also. Again, if we don't try the process, we don't know if the process will work. Rather than sit back and say, and your valid points, absolutely valid points. However, we need, I would say, from the budgeting standpoint, to look at those very carefully. And it won't happen this year probably, but as we move forward, we can start bringing things in line to get to that cost.
Just to sort of, I guess, bring you up to speed, if the budget committee doesn't know, when we were dealing with the budget, on the town side, we were looking at a 12.6% increase. That's what they said, the local government said is, your guaranteed max increase is 12.6%. And when we received the notice of what it was going to be, it was a 1.9% decrease over our current rates. So we've saved about a little over $100,000 because our rates have come down from what we built into the budget.
But then the state took that.
So
that's already gone.
The state decreased the revenue share by $196,000.
But, you know, I mean, the thing that we were looking at is that, you know, over the last 3 years, our rates we've dropped them because we changed plans, but they've actually gone down. Doesn't mean that next year they're not gonna shoot up again.
Ours
And
is
that's
up.
the same experience we
Right,
had.
and that's
Despite-
indicative of the insurance industry. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
question about it. One of the, if I could just wrap this up on my end, one of the suggestions I would have, which was done very well, I was very proud of the way Becky Benvenuti and that group of people came together to look at from self-insured to the current plans that we have. It would be my suggestion, it's just a suggestion because I'm not here to tell you what to do, but to take some school board side people, some of the town side people coming together and look at the benefits and see, because if it's going to work, it's going to have to come from the employees and sort of come up to the staff and to the budget committee and everybody else that's involved.
Oh, it truly could be a win-win, and the potential is there, David, you're right. I mean, the rising tide
Yep.
could lift all ships, as well as have benefits accrue to townspeople in general with an expansion of that group. And, yeah, it's truly worth looking at.
So I hope you folks will do it, as opposed to just saying, I think it's a great idea, I would love to see it move forward. And if I could just touch on a point that Brian had also, as far as the numbers within the budget, I think Brian absolutely hit the nail on the head by saying it would be good for us to make a recommendation as to perhaps what a figure might be for holding the budget. I mean, in my mind right now, looking at everything I've seen out there in the economy, I would love to go on the record of saying, flatline it, no increases, hold the line from last year. I just,
Which we did
yeah,
in the school budget.
Mhm.
We had an increase in terms of dollars, but in terms of the tax impact,
mhm.
there was actually a decrease in the tax impact. So that was in our thoughts and ever present in all of our discussions with the budget committee to try to hold it, and there was actually a decrease.
I would say kudos to you for that. Thank you.
Anybody else on this topic?
Have we moved on to topic 4?
I think we kind of did.
Yeah, I think we kind of.
Just
Yeah.
one more.
Oh, yeah, I guess we did.
This, I guess, is my third year sitting on the budget committee, and every year the people that we're dealing with, I wasn't on it with the prior administration, but between Sue and Dawn and Ed and Mark, we've got some really smart people that come up with some great ideas. And often during the budget committee, I say to myself, geez, I wonder if Ed knows about that. Or I wonder if Mark knows about that, or did Sue talk to Dawn about it? And I guess all I'm trying to do in this process is to get this energy. Everybody's moving positively, all the naysayers seem to be gone, and the criticizers seem to be gone. And it's just a matter of getting these ideas, these good ideas, like this medical insurance thing that we're talking about. That really requires some discussion, because if you look at the pool as a whole, it becomes experience-based. And I don't care whether the experience is different in the school versus the town or not, because we're gonna end up paying for it regardless. So can we do something as a pool? It's our pool. It's not the school's pool or the town's pool. So again, my last word is anything you folks can do to help us think through things and get us excited and get us motivated and cost savings, I'm really in favor.
Well, I think, standing meeting dates with Don, Sue, myself, and Ed would be a good thing to solidify and be sure that we're paying attention to this right away. So that's, I think, a good step, positive step, and instead of saying, we're going to do this, let's start doing it. We'll set the dates.
Good.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion on 3 or 4? Okay. Item 5 is discussion surrounding the financial impact of the Black Bear TIF project. And I just want to, I'm going to start this discussion. I was, Mr. Bastiani isn't here tonight, and this kind of was him who asked me to put this on the agenda, so I guess I'll speak to what I know. He is on the audit committee, and he's not on the TIF though. Okay, but he's a member. I mean, he's been watching the TIFs, Black Bear TIF meetings or attending them, and he had concerns about the current project and its financial impact on the budget. I just want to share that at this point in time, the budget committee has absolutely no statutory authority over what the Black Bear TIF committee does, or the town council does, or the planning board does, or the zoning board does to move a project forward or to kill it. Okay, this does not become our issue or our concern as budget committee members until it is monies are being put in the budget to expend for a project. Then it becomes our issue. But what I'd like to share is that I did go to the last TIF meeting. There's a gentleman there by the name of John Connolly or Connery? Connolly. That did a report. I guess he's an engineer. Did a report regarding the impacts of that project, which was very well done, interesting. And I thought he was very smart in proposing to the Black Bear TIF to propose to the council a, what did he call it? Policy statements. And they were very intelligent, well thought out, and basically what they all came down to is this, if this project goes forward, it shouldn't cost the town money. So that's where we are, where that is at this point. I don't know if anything's happened since then. But I wanted everyone here to be aware of it, and that if you could possibly, if this item is on the council agenda, or is being discussed again at a Black Bear TIF meeting, I would encourage you guys to go. There is a report I think is available. We can get that report that John put out, right? Just a minute. And we can have that and read it. I don't think it's not that long, is it?
No, it's about 3 pages.
Yeah, and like I said, it was very well done. And, Dana, do you have a question?
Yes, Ashley, I concur with you because we've had this conversation, you and I. We can't set policy, and I don't think it's the role of this budget committee to do so. However, I would prefer to have the information upfront prior to something coming to the budget committee to say, put it into the budget. I think it behooves us as a budget committee or even a citizen of this town to be informed of what is being proposed. And there are a number of ways you could do that. Attend the meetings, and there's also correspondence that could be given out. In fact, the night that the Black Bear TIP met in council chambers, Mr. Connery was there, and I spoke as a citizen to the board and asked if a particular document, which I believe was the second report that he had put out, if that was available to the public, and the Black Bear TIP looked at each other and said, absolutely, this is public knowledge. So I requested that a copy be provided to each budget committee person, and as of right now, I haven't seen it to anybody. So,
Well, I think that would need to come from me, Dan, because I'm the chairman. So,
well, I can make that request in a public hearing, and I believe I looked at Leo, and I think Leo actually wanted a copy of it too, so.
that's fine.
But I've gone ahead and I made a copy to each member here this evening on the Black Bear TIP, what's going on, the two reports, and also the section 162K of the RSA that says that we're supposed to, as a budget committee in the town, is supposed to receive a financial report on a yearly basis. And ever since I've been on the council,
Financial report on what? I
on
mean,
the
we're
Black Bear
talking
TIP,
about
on the Black Bear TIP.
the financial impact of the project on the TIP.
I know, that's what this is all about too.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've made copies to everybody, so it's just general information, keep everybody up to speed.
Is this the Connolly?
Yeah, his
Report.
first report's in there, his second report's in there, and again, these are just preliminary, these are nothing secretive about it, and I don't say anybody's trying to hide anything, I just remember making that request.
So can you just say what's in here?
Yeah, the first page is the RSA. The second page is actually how the Wilson property was
Is
purchased.
this the whole RSA or part of it?
No, it's just part of it. The part that's
So it
just,
isn't the whole RSA, it's just,
no, the part that we
certain part
have
of it.
here is telling us
okay.
that we
Keep
have a
going,
right to
Connery.
know. The second page is actually how the monies were pulled together. The third page was Black Bear TIP performance to date, and if we look over at column 2007 to 2008, acquisition of Martin property was never carried over as,
Yep, okay. And then this, the first report that says H.H. Connery is his first, and the second one is his second.
no, the first one you see is the second report, and the first one's behind it.
Okay.
So I just put that together for committee to look at. And again, we don't have to get into a great discussion, but I think it's important information for us
Thank you
to
very
have.
much. Brian?
Well, I'm looking at the law, and there's nothing in here that requires the filing of anything from the TIF district to the budget committee.
No, I said that already up front. It doesn't have to
I
come.
heard the opposite of that, so I just wanted to clarify. And I think it's still important for us to realize, it's great that you want to be involved, but that you requesting involvement does not make it a budgetary responsibility for this committee.
I never said it did.
You implied by requesting that the committee receive it, that you have the authority to do
No,
that.
no.
Well,
I-
Dan-
You don't have
wait.
the authority to do that.
I'm just gonna tell you right
The
now,
committee makes those decisions, and the chairman enforces them.
this
That's how it
budget
works.
committee has worked very well with the town and the school, and we're not gonna start any issues with personalities here. We're all gonna work together. And
That's inappropriate for you to make that
Excuse me.
statement. I'm doing due diligence by providing information to this committee.
I'm not criticizing you providing
Well, it
information.
certainly
Dan.
sounds that way.
I'm saying is, what I thought you were doing was trying to dig Ed again.
No,
So I'm not gonna let that happen, and thank you very much for getting the information, I appreciate it. Moving on.
I have, if I could,
Yeah.
I just wanted to finish that it's not, and I had an email correspondence that the committee saw some of with Bob, who brought this up. It's not that I don't want it discussed. We don't need to add a fourth committee into what is a long and expensive process for any prospective developer, because that's what stopped people from coming to town before, when they've had to jump through these hoops. we created the Blackberry Certificates Committee, and while it hasn't been very active in the 10 years or so in its existence, there's finally another project that's possible. And we have to trust that the committee that's been appointed will do its work, bring it forward to the council, and that the planning board, if there's any changes that have to be made, there's a lot of steps here that don't involve us because we don't have a role unless the council asks for additional authorization for an expenditure or a bond. So I will try to stay on top of it as an individual member of this community. And if there's a specific request that the council brings forward to the budget committee, I'm ready to discuss it.
And that's all I'm doing.
But there's nothing here in the current discussions that would warrant us discussing this again on the agenda, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just have one comment. All that stuff is reported in the annual audit. And if anybody, especially the council members, have questions about that, next Wednesday the auditors are coming in. Because that's.
Is it next
this
Wednesday or
one-
this?
This,
Okay.
today. That's in the audit.
Is that a 7 o'clock meeting this Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay.
What time are they on the
It's not
agenda? Are they first on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
I just don't want anyone to think that they're not getting to the report, because they are.
I'd like to amplify one of Brian's comments even a little bit further in terms of the role of the budget committee, certainly as I understand it. Whether it's the school side or the town side, the budget committee does not have the statutory authority to remove any individual expenditure from either of those budgets. The budget committee in the end approves a bottom line dollar amount that is to be expended. It may be as part of our discussions that whether it's a new first grade teacher or a police cruiser, that we choose to remove that amount of money from the bottom line of the approved budget that goes to the warrant. In the end, it's the duty of the council and the school board to determine how that money ultimately is expended. So whether it's a first grade teacher or a police cruiser, if the individual board or council feel that those items are of such paramount importance that they must fund them, then within the budget amount that has been approved by the voters, those individual boards can reprioritize what they choose to spend those funds on. So they're very fruitful discussions we always have about what it is we're spending the money on both sides. And I think that has always been, in the 2 years, 2.5 years I've been involved with the board, and a year I've done this, I think that's been our best job. What we've done best at is trying to have some good discussions so everyone understands what the town and the school's priorities are, so that we can either, one year it was, hey, don't go over 3%, yeah, we heard that and we went there. Last year we did not enter that particular thing, but we ended up having both budgets basically approved by the committee as presented, I think largely because of that communication we were able to have. And we have had over the last 2 years, I think a very productive process in not only helping us understand where we're going, but through televised things, sort of helping the community understand it, which has, it has made voting days successful on all accounts for the last couple of years, because I think that's that communication. But we got to be careful when we talk about those specific items that we as a budget committee may not support. In the end, what we're talking about is a dollar amount, not necessarily those individual items, because the board or the council can vote to expend money on those items even if the budget committee didn't think they belonged. I mean, we'll have to, trim the dollar someplace else, but I just wanted to clarify that, because it is easy for us to get into the discussions of, well, the police cruiser or the first grade or the second grade teacher or the extra secretary or the water plant or whatever it is. And we need to have those discussions because we need to know how the money, all that puzzle fits together. But in the end, we've got to remember we vote on the bottom line and not individual items. Thank you. I know that was long-winded.
No, that was good. Thanks. Okay, does anybody that hadn't had an opportunity to speak to the tip, Larry, did you have anything you want to say? Or, all right, we all have the information Dana gave us. Again, thank you, Dana, for getting that for us. I do want to, Dana, I just want to tell you, August 24th, that we set that as our next meeting before this one happened. just so you know, and Sue, you had asked, so that might be a good meeting for you guys to come to. What day is it?
That's typically where we begin to present our timeline for budgeting, so that,
Yeah,
They're trying
and
to
Sue
do
wanted
Mondays.
to
Right,
meet with us
great.
into the 7. Yeah, it's a Monday, yep. August 24th.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And I know it's not on the agenda, but 5A and B is old and new business. If anybody has any old and new, old or new business. Leo, do you have anything old or new? That was Dana?
No, I don't.
Okay, Larry?
No.
Brian? Al?
I do not.
Okay, Forrest?
no.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Thank you, Dana. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Good seeing everyone.
Maureen,
Yeah.
I got two of these. You want one?